Hello, my friends. I'm German. I live in Sweden, and I'm endlessly fascinated by all the small and big differences between those two countries. I still remember one of my first weeks here, standing alone right outside my front door, hearing nothing but the wind in the trees, and suddenly realizing no one needed me to make myself smaller. No one needed me to disappear a little. I could simply be. So even though I grew up just across the Baltic Sea, Sweden sometimes feels like a completely different planet. Whenever I meet Swedish people, I'm reminded that even with our shared Germanic backgrounds, the differences can be huge. And the best part is that Sweden is slowly, steadily changing my German heart, in small ways and in big ones. I think I've said it before on this channel. I came to Sweden for space. Compared to Germany, I longed for so much more space than I felt I had there. And Sweden, surprisingly, fulfilled this dream in more than one way. This is one of the areas of my life where Swedish culture has had such a big impact on me. And I'm so grateful for this unexpected difference I encountered here. So let me tell you about the Swedish right to take up space. You know, Germany is one of those countries where wherever you are almost always slightly surrounded by people. It's nothing extreme, nothing like New York or Tokyo, but you're rarely truly alone. And there are advantages to that too. For example, if you cry for help in Germany, there's a pretty good chance someone will hear you. But many Germans spend a lot of their time trying not to bother anyone, not bothering other people and not being bothered too much by other people. As a consequence, I and many of my fellow Germans, consciously or not, grew up trying to make myself a bit smaller than I really am, just to take up less space. And that's logical, isn't it? When you have a limited amount of space with just a bit too many people inhabiting it, one solution is to make yourself smaller and take up less room. But I could never really shake off the feeling that whatever I was doing, I was influencing the lives of the people around me. I was sitting on a park bench where somebody else wanted to sit. I was talking when somebody wanted quiet. I was there when somebody wanted solitude. I know this is not such a big issue for everyone, but for me it has always been there, quietly nagging in the back of my mind. And that is why when I came to Sweden and discovered all this space here, I was so deeply relieved. But the way you can experience space in Sweden goes far beyond the geographical aspect. The Swedish right to take up space really stands on 3 pillars. Well, firstly, in Sweden they have a very high respect of people's properties and their right to make decisions about that. So whenever you own an apartment, a house, a garden, no one will come and try to teach you or tell you how you should go about that, how you should act there, how you should treat it and manage it. And they might be curious on what you're doing there. They might judge you silently, but they won't go into conflict with you and try to influence you or take the right to do what you want to do away from you. So it's really you do you on your grounds. They are yours if you own them. And that kind of seems like it should go without saying, but I'm used to something very different in Germany actually. Secondly, you might have heard of the Swedish allemansrätten. It is a very old tradition that gives you the right to be in nature. And that sounds like a very obvious thing, but what it means is that outside of villages, towns, obvious gardens, you can walk wherever you like. You are allowed to seek shelter, to forage for food and firewood, to make a fire and cook your dinner or whatever you want in nature, and just behave naturally as you would in nature. And yeah, I think this is such a sound and sensible thing. But again, I wasn't used to that in Sweden. No, growing up in Germany, I wasn't used to that. I think I remember being yelled at as a child, just running through somebody else's forest. So this trying to get people out of nature is something I couldn't imagine here in Sweden.
Here you are allowed to just be.
And thirdly, there is a lot of space. So if you ever feel bothered by someone else, or if you might bother somebody else by being out in nature or doing whatever you do, there is always the possibility to just avoid each other, to go out of each other's way, to just avoid contact or company if you want that. And you can just choose another route, sit on another bench. So there's really no need for conflict or really being bothered by other people, here in nature at least. So in total, Swedish people are very mindful of their own presence and of each other's presence. They are respectful and might go very far out of their way to avoid conflict. But they will never excuse themselves for existing, for being where they are, for doing what they do, and for taking up space. And with this, I wish you a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.